Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world, with me, Deepika. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India stands united in grief and resolve as nation observes first anniversary of Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts India will never bow to any form of terror. Army delivers stern message, says justice will be served always. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh pushes for enhanced India-Germany defence industrial partnership in Berlin, highlights country's proactive approach to West Asia situation. Trump extends ceasefire awaiting proposal from Iran, while blockade of Iranian ports to continue, adds there can never be a deal with Iran if Strait of Hormuz blockade is lifted. Florida launches criminal probe into OpenAI and ChatGPT over last year's deadly shooting. Company terms incident unfortunate, asserting no responsibility. And in sports, Indian women take on South African women at the third T20I in Johannesburg today. Focus on Smriti Mandhana and Deepti Sharma as India fight to keep the series alive. Good morning to all the viewers joining us at this morning broadcast. To begin with the latest. Well, India marks the first anniversary of the deadly Pahalgam terror attack today. In Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, armed terrorists backed by Pakistan opened fire on a group of tourists, resulting in the death of 25 tourists along with a local resident. And in the aftermath, India launched Operation Sindoor, targeting Lashkar and Jaish terror camps in Pakistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid solemn tribute to victims of Pahalgam terror attack. In a social media post, Prime Minister wrote, remembering the innocent lives lost in the gruesome Pahalgam terror attack on this day last year. They will never be forgotten. My thoughts are also with the bereaved families as they cope with this loss. As a nation, we stand united in grief and resolve. India will never bow to any form of terror. The heinous designs of terrorists will never succeed, unquote. Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan also paid tribute to the victims of Pahalgam terror attack. In a social media post, he wrote, and I quote him here, the innocent lives lost in that gruesome and dastardly act of terror remain etched in our collective memory. I pay heartfelt tributes to those we lost and stand in solidarity with their families whose grief is immeasurable. They will forever be remembered. Such acts of brutality can never shake our resolve to uphold peace, unity, and the enduring values of humanity. We remain firm in our determination to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, unquote. Well, a year has passed since the picturesque Baisaran Valley in Kashmir's Pahalgam was shattered by a terrorist attack. We now take a look at our next report on what transpired on the 22nd of April last year and India's decisive response that followed.
It's been 1 year since the serene valley of Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir was shaken by a brutal terrorist attack that left the entire nation grieving. It was on this day last year, 26 people were murdered in cold blood by Pakistan-backed terrorists. 25 tourists from various Indian states and 1 local resident. 20 were injured. 3 terrorists separated men from women and children and shot them at point-blank range before fleeing into the dense jungle of Baisaran. For the families, painful memories of that tragic day linger.
ऐसा लगता था मुझे कि he will come back, definitely वो आएगा, लेकिन सच्चाई तो सच्चाई है, मालूम है हमें, पर दिमाग नहीं मानता था इस बात को ना।
अभी तो सिर्फ मतलब सिर्फ चल रहा है, मतलब कट रहा है, दिन कट रहा है, ऐसा ही लग रहा है, क्योंकि उनके जाने के बाद सब कुछ चला गया है। घर का खुशियाँ, मेरी जिंदगी का सारी खुशी सब खत्म हो गया है।
बहुत सारे ऐसी चेंजेस हैं जो उस घटना ने मेरी ज़िंदगी में कर दिए हैं, और ये ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो मुझे लगता है विथ टाइम मेरे साथ ये रहेगा। ये ट्रॉमा, ये पेन, ये ग्रीफ पूरी लाइफ रहने वाले हैं।
Remember this? A dazed Himanshi Narwal, married just a week ago, slumped next to her husband's body, Naval Officer Lieutenant Vinay Narwal. A joyous honeymoon turned into senseless tragedy, a picture India could not look away from. The Resistance Front, a proxy of the Pakistan-based UN-designated terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed responsibility for the attack. New Delhi immediately suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, expelled Pakistani diplomats, and closed borders. 2 weeks later, India launched Operation Sindoor in retaliation, destroying terror infrastructure inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. An intense military conflict ensued for 4 days before Pakistan asked for a ceasefire on May 10th. As the nation remembers the victims today, the call for vigilance and unity grows stronger. Their memory remains a reminder of the cost of terror and the enduring spirit of resilience. Bureau Report, DD India.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh too remembered and paid his heartfelt tributes to the innocent people who lost their lives in the cowardly terror attack at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir. In a social media post, he said, and I quote him here, "We share the enduring pain of their loved ones and families. We will never forget those wounds inflicted on our nation. India has endured decades of cross-border terror, but today our response is firm, decisive and unwavering. Through determined action, we have demonstrated that any attempt to harm our people or disrupt our unity will be met with strength and clarity." Unquote. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar too joined the nation in remembering the victims of the dastardly Pahalgam terror attack, which took place this day last year. He said India stands steadfast in its resolve to counter terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. A year on, as India remembers and mourns the loss of lives, the Indian Army too issued strong message. In a social media post, the Indian Army wrote, and I quote, "For acts against India, the response is assured, justice will be served always." The post is accompanied by a picture that read, "Operation Mahadev, it was only a matter of time. 300 kilometers of treacherous terrain was scanned, involving 93 days and nights of relentless search, resulting into neutralization of 3 perpetrators." It added that Operation Sindoor continues. Early on Tuesday too, Army stressed that some boundaries should never be crossed, saying when the boundaries of humanity are crossed, the response is decisive. Justice is served. India stands united. The post was accompanied by a picture that read, "Some boundaries should never be crossed. India does not forget." And since Operation Sindoor, Indian Army showcased its formidable tactical prowess in waterborne operations in Gujarat's Kutch, with specialized battle groups swiftly maneuvering through shallow waters in agile assault boats. Indian Army's AD regiment also showcased its formidable L-70 air defense guns in Gujarat's Bhuj. In Pahalgam stands a solemn reminder of the terror attack that took place in the meadows of Baisaran. The memorial, bearing the names of the 26 victims, stands along the banks of Lidda River as a poignant tribute and the resolve to stand united against terrorism. A year on, the site draws a large number of tourists, many of whom refuse to let fear define their travel choices. After their personal experience, they are encouraging more people to visit the area and soak in its natural beauty. Tourists visiting Jammu and Kashmir paid their heartfelt tributes to the victims of Pahalgam attack at Rajnath Pass. And marking 1 year of the Pahalgam terror attack, the ambassador of Israel, Ruven Azar, said the country stands with India in the fight against terrorism, remembering the 26 lives lost. He reaffirmed solidarity and support for India's ongoing efforts to combat terrorism.
Today, India marks 1 year since the barbaric terror attack in Pahalgam, Kashmir, where 26 innocent lives were lost. On behalf of Israel, I extend our deepest condolences to the families of the victims and to the people of India. We stand with you in grief and in solidarity. For us in Israel, this pain is deeply familiar. On October 7th, we witnessed similar brutality against our own people. These tragedies remind us that terror has no borders. India and Israel stand united in the fight against terrorism. We remain committed to confronting this threat together with resolve and determination.
In a bid to enhance Indian Army's minefield breaching capability, the Defence Ministry on Tuesday signed contracts worth nearly 975 crore rupees for the procurement of critical equipment for T-72 and T-90 tanks. The trawl assembly for T-72, T-90 tanks is a critical equipment developed by DRDO, which will enhance the minefield breaching capability of the Indian Army. It would generate additional capability of creating vehicle-safe lanes through minefields with anti-tank mines with the proximity magnetic fuses, thus enhancing the operational effectiveness of the Indian Army. Being a by Indian indigenously designed, developed and manufactured case, the procurement marks a pivotal step towards modernizing India's defence infrastructure and empowering indigenous industries, which will be a proud flag bearer of self-reliant India. This project has immense potential of direct and indirect employment generation by encouraging the MSME sector through components manufacturing. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Global oil markets react to ongoing developments as US stocks ends lower. Finland to protect coast from risk of Russian oil spill. Details after the break. And Peru electoral chief resigns after voting chaos ahead of the runoff.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. Come share in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back after that short break. Now, US President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he was extending a ceasefire with Iran to give more time for negotiations, but would maintain Washington's naval blockade of the country's ports. Trump posted on social media that he would extend the ceasefire until Iran came up with a proposal to end the conflict. However, he directed the US military to continue the blockade against Iran and remain ready and able. He also said in a Truth Social post on Tuesday that Iran wanted the Strait of Hormuz reopened to avoid losing oil revenue, but said he would keep it totally blockaded amid ceasefire talks. Iranian Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X on Tuesday that the US blockade of Iranian ports is an act of war and thus a violation of the ceasefire, and attacking Iranian merchant ships and detaining their crew members were even more serious violations. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards on Tuesday threatened to prevent oil production in West Asia if Iran faced attacks launched from its Gulf neighbors' territory. Commanders of Guards Aerospace Force Majid Mossavi said in a statement that if their geography and facilities are used in the service of the enemies to attack the Iranian nation, they should bid farewell to the oil production in West Asia. Iran on Tuesday called on the United Nations to condemn the seizure by the United States of an Iranian cargo ship, characterizing the move as an act of piracy and a breach of ceasefire between Tehran and Washington. Amir Syed Iravani, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, said in a letter addressed to the Security Council and the Secretary General that such conduct bears the hallmark of piracy in nature and amounts to a dangerous escalation that endangers the safety and security of vital shipping lanes. Iravani urged the UN to condemn the seizure and demand the ship's release. Early on Sunday, US President Donald Trump announced that US Navy had fired on and then taken control of the Tuaska cargo ship in the Sea of Oman. Trump said that Iran-flagged vessel is subject to US sanctions, and he also said on Sunday that the Tuaska was seized after failing to respond to a warning to stop. US Vice President J.D. Vance's planned trip to Islamabad on Tuesday has been delayed, and now it has been indefinitely postponed. White House has confirmed that J.D. Vance and other members of the US delegation would not be traveling to Islamabad. According to the US officials, Vance's visit has been deferred for now because of Iran's failure to respond to US's negotiating positions ahead of talks. While Trump had long confirmed that a team of Vance and his special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, would be visiting Islamabad, Iran had not committed to participating in the fresh round of talks. And now to give you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre. Good morning, Akshay. Now, ceasefire has been extended, but blockade remains in place. Would that help in achieving the desired result that US is currently eyeing upon?
Well, seems highly unlikely, Deepika, and the reason for that is the posturing remains, but little is being done on the ground to resolve the situation. From all of these actions of extending the ceasefire, threats, and all of these things that are taking place right now, we can only understand one thing, that it's not just Iran that wants an off-ramp of this conflict, it's the US as well. That is desperately looking for an off-ramp, but the actions of none other than the US president, it seems, are complicating the matters. The urge to humiliate Iran, the urge to take credit for the situation, and to and also the urge to portray oneself as the hero. And the most intelligent person as far as this entire conflict is concerned is also far more complicating the situation, given the fact that if Trump hadn't, posted those tweets and talked about the internal negotiations, the diplomacy that's taking place, we would have far more likely, it would have been far more likely to get a positive outcome out of these conflicts right now. But the situation remains complicated. The situation remains unresolved, and all of the talks, even though heading in the positive direction, are ultimately turning out to be, to circle back to the same points is also because of the diplomacy that is being carried out from both the sides. Blockading the Strait of Hormuz, attacking on the ships is something that is complicating the matters when it comes to the Iranian side, and also counter blockading the ports of Iran, not exactly keeping the conversation secretive is making things complicated for diplomacy to move forward. So while we are hoping for a positive outcome, more serious diplomacy and more serious negotiations, and perhaps kept secretive, would be best for a positive outcome out of this situation that is impacting not only the region, not only US, but the entire world.
And now, considering the recent developments, what are the possibilities of yet another round of peace talks, as J.D. Vance will not be present for the peace talks in Iran?
Well, Deepika, from all we are gauging right now, one thing is quite certain, that US wants peace talks as well. They need it. It's not just that they want it. There are midterm elections in November that are going to take place, and without the end of this conflict, the result is going to be devastating, not just for the economies around the world, but also for US domestic politics. Because, we have to remember that it was not Iran that had attacked Israel and US. It was the other way around. So if you have initiated a conflict, you should have initiated a conflict with keeping in mind, set goals and objectives. When we heard that the conflict had started, we heard a timeline of about 2 to 3 weeks. It's been more than months now. So clearly something is amiss. And certainly there are going to be peace talks, because the situation cannot be left unchecked. The troops cannot be sent on the ground. That's one thing for sure. Because if troops are sent on the ground ahead of midterm elections, if there are casualties on the US servicemen, then there can be opposition targeting the present government of the US, stating that all of these soldiers are dying because of the conflict that you had initiated without keeping objectives in mind. So the US will look for an off-ramp. Maybe they are too proud to say that they will be looking for diplomatic solution and an off-ramp from this conflict, but that's the reality. So, and that the testimony is in the very fact that the US has extended the ceasefire and doesn't want the fighting to resume and the fighting to escalate, which is a good thing for the world peace, which is a good thing for the region, but not a good thing in the long run when it comes to a resolution of the conflict without serious negotiations and diplomacy.
All right, thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and getting us the latest on the recent developments. Now, the United Nations Secretary General has welcomed the announcement by the US to extend the ceasefire. In a statement, Antonio Guterres said that this is an important step towards de-escalation and creating critical space for diplomacy and confidence building between Iran and the US. We encourage all the parties to build on this momentum, refrain from actions that could undermine the ceasefire, and engage constructively in negotiations to reach a sustainable and lasting solution. Iranian-American activist and human rights advocate gathered in California on Tuesday to call for a halt to the executions of political prisoners in Iran. And a ceasefire, they said, must include protections for human rights. The rally also drew attention to an ongoing hunger strike movement by prisoners protesting detention conditions and lack of due process. Participants urged international monitoring of Iranian prisons and stronger action by world leaders to protect political prisoners. And talking about the markets now, US stock futures rose and the dollar wavered on Wednesday after President Trump said he would indefinitely extend the Iran ceasefire, keeping sentiments buoyant. S&P futures rose 0.6%, while Nasdaq futures gained 0.7% in Asian hours. European futures eased 0.2%, pointing to a subdued open. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan fell 0.5% after hitting a 7-week top on Tuesday. Japan's Nikkei surged to a record high. Oil prices swung between gains and losses in early trading, with Brent crude futures down 0.17% at $98.27 per barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures slipped 0.42% to $89.29 a barrel. While oil prices have come down from their March peaks, they are still well above pre-war levels, worrying the investors that elevated energy prices could quicken inflation and keep global rates higher for longer. Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said on Tuesday his government was not seeking confrontation with Hezbollah but would not allow itself to be intimidated as it prepares for direct talks with Israel to end the conflict. The US will host ambassador-level talks with Israel and Lebanon on Thursday, although it remains unclear whether the objective is to extend a fragile 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah or pave the way for deeper negotiations. Israeli troops occupy territory deep in the south, aiming to create a buffer zone to shield northern Israel from Hezbollah attack, while the group says it maintains the right to resist Israeli occupation. Lebanon in 2025 said it would disarm Hezbollah, but its army treaded carefully, wary of igniting internal tensions. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman met with Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara in Jeddah on Tuesday. Both the leaders discussed bilateral relations and ways to strengthen cooperation across various fields. As per the Saudi statement, the two leaders also reviewed regional developments and efforts to coordinate on them. Finland is taking measures to protect its Baltic Sea coast from the high risk of an oil spill from Russia's shadow fleet, installing a permanent oil boom fastening the system. The Nordic country has repeatedly expressed fears of a major Baltic Sea oil spill from a tanker belonging to Russia's so-called shadow fleet, aging and often uninsured vessels used to circumvent Western sanctions against Moscow. The booms would be able to contain the oil before it reaches the shore or the sensitive ecosystems. A collision or grounding of a shadow fleet tanker could result in thousands of tons of crude oil spilling into the water, with fatal consequences for the fragile ecosystems. Ukraine has repaired the damaged Druzhba pipeline that carries Russian oil to Europe and is ready to resume supplies after President Volodymyr Zelensky said repairs were complete. The Druzhba pipeline has been at the center of standoff between Hungary and Slovakia, which still imports Russian oil via the route, Ukraine and the European Union. Hungary's outgoing nationalist leader Viktor Orban reportedly blocked financing for Ukraine, using it as leverage to pressure Kyiv to resume oil deliveries while accusing Ukraine of delaying repairs. Zelensky called on the European Union to release a €90 billion loan that has been stalled amid the dispute over the pipeline. Kyiv, meanwhile, said it can restart pumping Russian oil to the two EU countries as soon as it receives a formal request. Now, Florida has launched a criminal probe into OpenAI and its artificial intelligence app ChatGPT over a deadly shooting last year that killed 2 people at Florida State University. Attorney General James Utemea said on Tuesday that the chatbot advised the shooter on what type of gun to use, on which ammo went with which gun, and on whether or not a gun would be useful at short range. He added that if it was a person on the other end of that screen, we would be charging them with murder. A gunman killed 2 people and wounded 6 others at Florida State University in April last year before he was shot by officers and hospitalized. The suspect was charged with multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. Time for a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. After the break, we'll get you all the latest on assembly elections across India's West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. And portals of Kedarnath temple open amid rituals marking key phase of Chardham Yatra. World Earth Day today to champion conservation and inspire collective action for a healthier and more sustainable planet.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls' pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. India stands united in grief and resolve as nation observes first anniversary of Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts India will never bow to any form of terror. Army delivers stern message, says justice will be served always. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh pushes for enhanced India-Germany defence industrial partnerships in Berlin, highlights country's proactive approach to West Asia situation. Donald Trump extends ceasefire awaiting proposal from Iran, while blockade of Iranian ports to continue, adds there can never be a deal with Iran if Strait of Hormuz blockade is lifted. Florida launches criminal probe into OpenAI and ChatGPT over last year's deadly shooting. Company terms incident unfortunate, asserting no responsibility. In sports, Indian women all set to take on South Africa in third T20 International of Johannesburg. Focus is on Smriti Mandhana and Deepti Sharma as India fights back to keep the series alive. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday addressed the German Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defence and Security. He was received by Member of the Parliament and Chairman of the committee, Thomas Rokamp. The discussion centred around India-Germany strategic partnership and the recently signed India-EU Strategic and Defence Partnership Agreement. The two sides also shared their perspectives on important regional and global issues. During the visit, the minister is expected to hold talks with his German counterpart, Boris Pistorius, on boosting defence industrial cooperation, joint development and co-production under India's Make in India programme. A defence industrial cooperation roadmap and an implementing arrangement for cooperation in UN peacekeeping training are expected to be signed. Moving on to updates related to the ongoing assembly elections across India. Arrangements for ensuring hassle-free polling on Thursday have started, falling in place for Tamil Nadu and parts of West Bengal. The Election Commission has made extensive preparations for the voting on the 23rd of April in the two states with an aim to ensure a smooth and fair electoral process. To prevent irregularities and violence, several measures have been implemented, including the large-scale deployment of paramilitary forces, which is the highest ever in West Bengal. Even reserve forces deployment is required. Meanwhile, paramilitary forces have been deployed to reassure voters and to ensure they can cast their vote without fear, as arrangements have also been made to escort the voters safely to the polling stations if need be. West Bengal will vote in two phases on the 23rd and the 29th of April, while Tamil Nadu will go to the polls in a single phase on the 23rd of April. The results for West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Kerala and Puducherry will be declared on the 4th of May. In a vibrant democracy, every vote matters and every voice counts. The Election Commission of India's systematic voters' education and electoral participation is making efforts to make people aware about voting. DD India's Ritesh Ranjan tells us more.
To ensure that citizens not only understand their voting rights, but also actively participate, ECI Sweep has been taking awareness to the streets in Tamil Nadu. From energetic flash mobs to impactful street plays, these initiatives are designed to capture attention, spark curiosity, and deliver an important message. Don't miss your chance to vote. These creative campaigns transform everyday public spaces into platforms for civic education. A flash mob isn't just a performance, it's a call to action. A street play isn't just storytelling, it's a reminder that democracy thrives when people participate.
In this, we have also done multiple sweep activities, which is the voter awareness activities. For example, we have spoken to the associations of the differently abled people and ensure that they participate more in the coming election. Also, we have conducted bike rallies for them, and we have had training sessions also for them to educate them on the facilities that are being provided to them in order to have a safe and a comfortable experience in the polling booths.
But the effort doesn't stop here. To engage the youth, quiz competitions are being organized across the city. These quizzes are more than just contests. They are opportunities for young minds to deepen their understanding of voting rights, electoral processes, and the power they hold as future voters. By making learning interactive and fun, these initiatives inspire a new generation to take their role in democracy seriously. Adding to these innovative efforts is a truly unique attraction by the Chennai Corporation, the Vintage Bus Initiative. This beautifully restored bus isn't just a piece of history on wheels. It's a moving symbol of awareness. Drawing crowds with its nostalgic charm, the Vintage Bus becomes a space where people gather, explore, and learn. As visitors step in to admire its classic design, they are also introduced to important information about voting, why it matters, how to participate, and why no one should stay away from the polling booth. It's a perfect blend of heritage and purpose, capturing attention while delivering a powerful civic message. Together, these initiatives create a dynamic movement, one that reaches people where they are, speaks their language, and motivates them to act. Because at the heart of it all is a simple yet powerful idea. Voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility.
From flash mob to cultural activities on street plays, many more things are there which Election Commission of India is doing across the Tamil Nadu. And the best part here in Chennai is Vintage Bus, which is attracting many more people in different areas wherever this bus is going. And this is actually creating awareness among people to cast their vote. With camera person Gokul, Ritesh Ranjan, DD India.
And under the second phase of International Election Visitors Program 2026, as many as 34 delegates from 17 countries travelling to West Bengal and Tamil Nadu to visit dispatch and distribution centres, other facilities, including the district control rooms and the media monitoring centres, paving way for foreign delegates to witness poll preparations and real-time voting in West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. The IEVP is a flagship program of the Election Commission of India for international cooperation and engagement with the election management bodies of other countries and international organizations. Portals of the sacred Kedarnath temple in Uttarakhand's Rudraprayag opened for public, accompanied by chanting of Vedic hymns and traditional rituals on Wednesday morning. The temple has been adorned with vibrant flowers, enhancing the spiritual ambience of the shrine. Strict crowd management, medical support, and security measures are in place to ensure a safe pilgrimage. Kedarnath temple is part of the Chardham Yatra, which began on Sunday on the occasion of Akshaya Tritiya with the opening of the portals of Gangotri and Yamunotri shrines in Uttar Kashi district. The gates of Kedarnath opened today, followed by Badrinath in Chamoli on the 23rd of April, which is Thursday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his sentiments through a letter to all the devotees coming to Uttarakhand for offering their prayers at the holy shrine of Kedarnath. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister wrote, and I quote him here, "Today, on the sacred land of Dev Bhumi, Uttarakhand, the doors of Sri Kedarnath Dham have been opened for all of us, devotees with full rites and rituals. This journey to Kedarnath Dham and the Char Dham is a divine celebration of our faith, unity and rich traditions. Through these journeys, we also get glimpses of India's eternal culture. On the occasion of the commencement of the Chardham Yatra this year, I have expressed my sentiments through a letter to all the devotees coming to Uttarakhand. My wish is that Baba Kedar continues to shower his blessings on everyone and make your journeys auspicious. Har Har Mahadev." Unquote. Moving on. Today's World Earth Day, a day dedicated to reminding us that protecting our planet is a shared responsibility. The goal is simple: to draw global attention towards environmental conservation and inspire every generation to build a healthier, happier Earth for the future. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya reports.
Protecting the Earth is not a choice, it's a responsibility for every generation. Earth Day brings millions together to raise awareness about critical issues like climate change, global warming, pollution and biodiversity loss. This year's theme is Our Power, Our Planet. It emphasizes the real changes begins with individuals and communities. The focus is on encouraging renewable energy adoption, strengthening community action and empowering people to fight climate change through everyday choices.
Himalayas provides the water, the food and the ecological stability for a quarter of the world's population. So when you look at those numbers, it's imperative that if you're trying to celebrate an Earth Day, then you need to celebrate or at least think about and look at the concerns of the Himalayas, what has happened in the past, what is the ongoing activity and how it could be having impacts which are irreversible. And therefore it becomes important to have a responsible thought process and plan for the future of the Himalayas.
The theme also highlights the need to reshape environmental policies through collective action, reduce plastic pollution and move towards a sustainable future powered by clean energy. Earth Day is now observed in over 190 countries. It began in 1970 after growing concerns about environmental damage. Every small step matters: reducing fossil fuel use, saving water, promoting recycling, protecting biodiversity, and supporting sustainable practices. Because protecting the earth isn't optional, it is essential for our survival, health, and the future. Taposh Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
On World Earth Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated India's commitment to environmental protection. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister highlighted that protecting and preserving the mother nature is not just a collective duty, but also a sacred pledge to future generations. Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupendra Yadav, on Wednesday announced the designation of Sheikh Jheel Bird Sanctuary in Aligarh, Uttar Pradesh as a Ramsar site. The announcement brought a boost for local livelihoods and global biodiversity, along with water and climate security. Now, this marks UP's 12th Ramsar site and India's 99th, bringing us closer to a historic century. Sheikh Jheel acts as a crucial stopover on the Central Asian flyway, providing a vital habitat for migratory birds such as the bar-headed goose, painted stork and various ducks during the winter season. Zoo authorities have put cooling systems in place to help animals cope with rising temperatures and ensure their comfort and safety across UP. Take a look.
Sprinklers hum softly across the enclosures. A hippopotamus stands neck deep in cool water and nearby bears paw at frozen fruit blocks, turning relief from the heat into a moment of play. Soaring temperatures across Uttar Pradesh are affecting everyone, including non-human residents of Shahid Ashfaqullah Khan Zoological Park in Gorakhpur. So, the zoo administration has stepped in with cooling measures to help the animals cope with the heat.
Measures have been put in place to ensure that wildlife does not face discomfort or stress due to the heat. For instance, shaded areas have been arranged in the deer enclosures. Their ponds are supplied with fresh and cool water. For aquatic animals such as fish, crocodiles, gharials, turtles, as well as species like hippopotamus and rhinoceros, the water is regularly changed. There is a continuous inflow and outflow system to maintain water temperature. In the bear enclosures, coolers and misting machines have been installed to keep the microclimate cool.
The zoo authorities have also modified diets to suit the summer heat. Frozen fruits have been introduced to provide nutrition as well as relief during the hot season.
We also make changes to their diet. During summer, the quantity of regular feed is reduced and the method of feeding is modified. For example, for Himalayan black bears like Biru and Shalini, we provide different fruits such as sweet lime and watermelon, often frozen with ice. At times, milk is added. Fruits are cut and frozen into large ice cubes. The bear consume these and remain engaged with them for 2 to 3 hours.
As temperatures continue to rise and peak summer still ahead, these steps, officials say, will help reduce heat stress and ensure a safe, comfortable environment for all animals.
And now let's get you updates from the world of business. India's seafood exports rose to a record 72,325.82 crore rupees in financial year 2025-26, with volumes reaching 19.32 lakh metric tons, according to provisional data released by Marine Products Export Development Authority. The United States retained its position as the largest export destination, with imports totaling $2.32 billion. However, shipments to the US declined by 19.8% in volume and 14.5% in value, reflecting primarily the impact of reciprocal tariffs. Several individual markets registered strong double-digit growth, underscoring a clear shift towards diversification amid trade headwinds in traditional markets. In terms of logistics, the top 5 ports, Vizag, JNPT, Kochi, Kolkata and Chennai, accounted for nearly 64% of total export value, highlighting their continued importance in India's seafood export supply chain. India emerges as the top greenfield foreign direct investment destination in the Indo-Pacific as per a latest UN report. Greenfield FDI is a type of investment where a firm builds new operational facilities from scratch in a foreign country. The next report tells you more about this. Take a look.
India's economy is likely to expand at 6.4% in 2026 and 6.6% in 2027, according to the latest outlook by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. According to the Economic and Social Survey of Asia and the Pacific 2026, the growth in South and Southwest Asia improved to 5.4% in 2025 from 5.2% in 2024, with India driving the surge. The report added that India's service sector helped minimize the impact of US tariffs. Within the Asia-Pacific region, India recorded the highest greenfield foreign direct investment announcements in the first 3 quarters. Greenfield FDI is a type of investment where a parent company builds new operational facilities from scratch in a foreign country. India's Greenfield FDI stood at $50 billion, followed by Australia at $30 billion, South Korea at $25 billion, and Kazakhstan at $21 billion. The report also projects India's inflation to remain contained at 4.4% in 2026, while it warns that inflation in Asia-Pacific will rise to 4.6% in the same year. Earlier this month, the International Monetary Fund raised India's growth forecast to 6.5%, which is more than double the rate of global economic growth of 3.1%. It added that India remains fastest growing major economy. Bureau Report, DD India.
Lugano hosted a conference where Indian economy, culture and gastronomy were presented in a unique style. DD India correspondent Nidhi files this report from Switzerland. Take a look.
I'm standing right outside a neoclassical building built in 1844, which is home to the city of Lugano administration. However, India has taken center stage here. The city of Lugano, the Chamber of Commerce Ticino, the Swiss Fair Trade Association, and the Embassy of India in Switzerland have co-organized a 2-day conference aptly titled India, the Flavor of Chai and Change.
The change and the chai are in the context of making the Canton understand, the people understand, and the business of Canton understand how to work in India, how to develop business contacts in India, how to develop investment ties in India.
The mayor of Lugano, Michele Folletti, opened the conference. On day 1, extensive discussions took place on TEPA, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, between India and EFTA countries, Workshops were held on cultural nuances of operating in India, sustainable urban development, and fair trade.
Current geopolitical situation, on one side, obliging the companies to diversify the market, and on the other side, having a huge market such as India, with growing middle class, higher consumption, a great growth rate compared to other countries, and you have the TIPA, so the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. It's the right time for Swiss companies to come to India.
We are selling, you find here in all the big stores, you find rice, fair trade rice from India, fair trade spices, fair trade coffee, and clearly tea.
Introducing local population to Indian flavors, Bollywood, and traditional art forms was a key highlight. The influence of Hindu philosophy and vegetarianism in Lugano was noticeable.
And the food is in the center of our life, a very important center. And so following the Vedic principles is very, very useful for us.
I've never seen this Indian dance live, and I must admit that it was very engaging.
India's story is much bigger than GDP and trade numbers. It's anchored in Indian wisdom, its varied vegetarian cuisine, and the performing arts. Focusing on just one aspect is like missing the forest for the trees. From the sunny city in Lugano, this is Nidhi reporting for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest action from the world of sports. To begin with cricket first. Indian women are all set to face South Africa team in a must-win third T20 international encounter in Johannesburg, with vice-captain Smriti Mandhana and all-rounder Deepti Sharma under the spotlight. South Africa lead the 5-match series by 2-0 and are currently eyeing a series victory at the Bulls rink. India, meanwhile, are desperate to bounce back. Smriti Mandhana, India's key batter, has had a quiet start with scores of 13 and 12 as of now, and Deepti Sharma's form is also a matter of concern. She has struggled with the bat and gone wicketless in both the matches. So India's batting has lacked firepower at the end, managing only 157 and 147 in the first two games. With T20 World Cup in England just around the corner, Captain Harmanpreet Kaur and her team will be looking forward to regain confidence and return to winning ways. In shooting, India's Shiva Narwal made a strong comeback, winning gold in men's 10-meter air pistol junior event at the ISSF Junior World Cup in Egypt. Returning after a 3-year gap, Narwal topped the final with a score of 241.8, finishing ahead of Uzbekistan's Sudorchukev Abdullayev. India's Chirag Sharma also impressed, winning bronze medal, while Abhinav Deshwal finished 7th in the final. Narwal had earlier topped the qualification round, with Chirag and Abhinav also making it to the finals. In women's 10-meter air rifle event, Pana Bugra added to India's success by winning silver medal. She stayed consistent throughout the final to finish with a score of 250.6. Overall, it was a strong start for India on the opening day of the ISSF Junior World Cup. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.